of the shrinkflation nonsense, this is the worst.
Where the f are my chips?
Okay, so today we're going to be talking about shrinkflation around the world because whether you like it or not, many items sold today at grocery stores are made by massive American corporations that sell these products globally. So when we see inflated prices or decreasing quantity of those same items we've bought for years, that affects the entire world, not just us. So we have some clips and comments from you guys. If you want to be featured on one of my future videos, leave a comment down below, as well as check out my second channel for some more short form content. But if you don't know what shrinkflation is, we could check out some examples of it in our day-to-day lives.
Gatorade redesigned its 32-ounce bottles to be, quote, more aerodynamic and it's easier to grab, a representative told Quartz in March. The new design holds 28 ounces, which is a 14% drop, despite both bottles being the same height. Earlier this year, Burger King reduced the number of chicken nuggets in its $4.49 meal from 10 pieces to 8. This article is a little bit dated, it's about a year old, and Burger King has since reduced the nuggets to 4, and the price has gone up to about $5. Walmart Great Value paper towels dropped from 168 sheets per roll to only 120, while the price stayed the same. Once again, dated article, the price has since gone up. Hershey cut down its 18-ounce pack of dark chocolate kisses by almost 2 ounces. Hefty's Mega Pack went from 90 bags to 80 at the same price. The price has since gone up. This one fucking hurt my heart. A 2-pack of Reese's Peanut Butter Cups used to weigh 1.6 ounces. Now it's at 1.5 ounces. Cans of Pringles are different weights depending on the flavor in the US, but at Target they all cost the same. Toblerone, which makes distinctively triangular chocolate bars, in 2014 reduced the weight of its bars by 25% by adding more space between each piece, but reversed the decision 2 years later after public outcry. Crest shrunk 3D White Radiant Mint toothpaste from 4.1 ounces to 3.8 ounces. General Mills shrunk its family-size boxes from 19.3 ounces to 18.1 ounces, a drop of nearly 10%. Quaker Life cereal also shrunk from 24.8 ounces to 22.3, and it was renamed from Giant to family size, even though the box actually got bigger. Wheat Thins changed its family size from 16 to 14 ounces with about 28 fewer crackers per box. Chobani minimized its Flips yogurt from 5.3 ounces to 4.5 ounces. Lastly, Folgers reduced its 51-ounce container down to 43.5 ounces, but the company says it makes the same number of cups of coffee thanks to lighter beans.
I don't really understand how you could get lighter beans. That doesn't make too much sense to me, but all right. I could probably make several full-length videos of just examples of this all over the place. We have a comment from one of you guys. I work for a well-known global fast food pizza place. When we make pizza, we've always had to measure out how much cheese we put on it. They've been telling us to measure out less and less cheese for the past few months. Now it's at the point where it's laughable how much cheese we bake on the pizza, and I've noticed we've been losing customers, and somehow my boss doesn't understand why. Shocker, when companies decide to start cutting corners, it decreases the amount of customers they have. Weird. And like I said, this isn't just an American problem. We could look at a couple quick clips that are happening globally.
Like, I understand that shrinkflation's a thing, but I just opened this bag up. Where the fuck are my chips? Where have you taken my chips?
What in the shrinkflation is this? So I've never tried these M&Ms before, they're like the brownie ones. And I thought £1.50, great. And then look, there is literally not even like a quarter of it filled with chocolate. So I decided not to buy it because that's pretty expensive. Madness.
Of all of the shrinkflation nonsense, this is the worst one. Not only do you now get 9 Krispy Kreme instead of 12, they're smaller. I've got teenagers, man. That's like bite size. 13 quid now.
So last one I thought was comedic right away because I thought she was going to say that a 9-pack only ended up having 4 of them because there's like extreme examples. There was one of mashed potatoes that are like those instant powder mashed potatoes. And I guess whatever machine that puts the exact same amount in every single bag messed up. And whatever company it was, Walmart or Target, something like that, was just shipped a empty bags. So I thought she was doing something funny like that, but still, we could just keep going with these clips non-stop, honestly. Especially I thought it was interesting having the new price tags on items just put right over the old ones, so you could actually see how much the price hike was on each item. And because of that, I know that some places are trying to have like little digital screens show the prices on all the items now instead of just the normal pieces of paper, because then in an instant they could just change prices of anything throughout the whole store. And some people think that these companies could start price gouging very desirable items in their stores at an instant. They could just change it on the screen. They don't have to manually go over and change the price. We have another comment from one of you guys. I went back to 2020 on my Walmart orders and it has more than doubled. 34 items for $60 now cost over $130. And I know the counter argument for these companies is that the price of labor went up, the price of materials, food products, shipping, rent for franchises or the warehouses, everything has gone up, and I get that. But then people believe that these companies are running on razor thin margins now, and they're not price gouging at all and benefiting from the consequences of inflation.
Breaking: Kroger has been exposed in court for raising the price of milk and eggs far beyond the rate of inflation. A Kroger executive admitted that this was the practice, confirming what many people have been saying for a long time. Businesses use inflation as an excuse to jack up the prices on customers. All this information is coming to light as Kroger's deal to purchase Albertsons, the largest grocery store merger in history, is increasingly scrutinized. And remember, this isn't the first admission of price gouging. Kroger has already been caught using electric signage to dynamically price goods in its stores. And of course, if they were to acquire Albertsons, they would roll that out across the country. Now, interestingly enough, Kroger admits that it carefully watches the prices of competitors, especially Albertsons, which it's now trying to buy. So if Kroger is able to absorb Albertsons in a purchase, they would no longer have to worry about matching the prices competitively, since it would just all be one big store. They're buying out the competition so that they can jack up the prices further on consumers. It's definitely very alarming stuff, but it looks like Kroger has somewhat of a history of doing this. I think customers are in for an unpleasant surprise if Kroger succeeds in buying Albertsons.
I mean, you could get into the argument of massive monopolies. I mean, you could just talk about Walmart all by itself. Maybe you could give some of these companies the benefit of the doubt, but they are intentionally trying to deceive you and make the packages the same size, change the shape of the bottle to look like the same height as the old one, even though it holds less fluid ounces. Like these companies know what they're doing. They're not stupid.
Look at how empty this is. This was a very well done post on Reddit. $1.06, no longer available. This one, the replacement, $2.37. Both are 12 ounces. Trickflation. House Labs Blush went from 11 grams down to 5 grams, and they did reduce it from $38 to $32, but it's less than half the size it was before. This is a change that actually just went into effect very recently, but was to the employees of Starbucks in April about a new gouging collar for white chocolate mocha sauce. The new collar will dispense 15% less sauce per pump than the current collar, and the change was tested with customers. Did not result in any noticeable difference in taste. So they're trying to see, can we sneak this in? Will they notice? Another thing to sneak in, smaller sandwich sizes. Same price. It's about a 25% decrease, they said. These are the SodaStream canisters, and it went from 425 grams on this one to 400 grams on this one, but still claims to make about 60 liters worth of soda. Kush Mascara, which is a milk product, which is owned by Obagi Skincare. 0.34 ounces to 0.27 fluid ounces. This was actually put up as a very rare announcement, and it was only because it affected WIC. Darigold reduced the half-gallon milk carton from 64 ounces to 59 ounces. WIC does not allow the new 59-ounce package size. So because they don't sell the old product, you can't buy this milk if you use WIC. For those who don't know what WIC is, it's women, infants, and children to help them get food to make sure that they can have a healthy pregnancy and early infant days. This is very interesting because this is not shrunk. It's 22 fluid ounces still. These are the same. So why did it go up from 90 to 100 calories and from 160 to 190 per container? Carbs have gone up, added sugars have gone up. So they've clearly changed the formulation of this. 156 grams with 6 bars, 120 grams with 5 bars, same price. This is a real brain tease. 2.35 kilograms, Doesn't seem to have shrunk. So then why does this now make 27 instead of 32 that it used to make? This has got to be a formulation change so that it's not as concentrated, so it makes fewer teas and yet has more calories and sugars than the old version.
We have another comment from one of you guys. This is why people who never stole before are starting to in grocery stores. Now, I'm definitely not advocating it, but you could see, especially if you live anywhere near cities, theft has gone up dramatically in these stores, whether it be from people who could just take advantage of barely getting a slap on the wrist for stealing tons of products from stores, or people genuinely need it now when the prices are going up. And because of that, I mean, tons of stores have closed.
Basically, everybody on Earth is stealing from self-checkouts, and that happens in two ways. One way is hilarious on purpose master thieves. This Australian person printed homemade barcodes for packet ramen and stuck that on steaks and appliances. There also used to be an entire subreddit trading tips on how to steal from self-checkout with moves like the banana trick, which is where you take an expensive item, ring it up by its weight, and punch in the weight of something cheap like a banana. However, almost all theft from self-checkout is not theft on purpose. It is the accidental, oopsie kind. We're tired, we're busy, we easily forget or miss a scan. And that theft adds up. One study of a store in Leicester found that they lost more than 4% of all their earnings just at self-checkouts, almost entirely due to accidents. But stores keep installing self-checkouts because they'd rather turn you into this cartoon character than pay a cashier.
A new trend is going around where people are taking Tide containers at stores and filling them to the top. Anyway, what people are doing is they're taking 2 Tide containers and then using one to fill up the other all the way to the top, which is pretty illegal depending on the side of the spectrum you fall on. It's actually becoming really controversial and a lot of people are getting in trouble for it.
Welcome to San Francisco. Target is shutting its doors early at its stores in San Francisco after rampant and brazen shoplifting incidents that have been on the rise in the city. The stores are closing at 6 p.m. instead of the typical 10 or 11 p.m. A Target spokesperson says, quote, "For more than a month, we've been experiencing a significant and alarming rise in theft and security incidents at our San Francisco stores, similar to reports from other retailers in the area. Shoplifting has been escalating at an alarming rate in San Francisco that Walgreens announced it's shutting down nearly a dozen of its stores in San Francisco." The president of the California Retailers Association says San Francisco ranks as the 5th worst city in the nation for retail theft, LA being number 1.
My local Target where I used to live in New Jersey completely shut down the self-checkout area, which was like a third of where you could go and check out. So that must have cost the store a lot of money, but it would still save more than the amount of theft that was going through it. I already showed in a previous video a Walmart in New Jersey where tons of stuff was just locked up. Not just the super expensive electronics, PlayStations, all the headphones. It was like skateboards, any sort of wires for phones, any accessory for phones, period. Any of the perfumes, I was even seeing toothpaste. It was nuts. And we could just keep going. There was a clip that I saw from Australia, something called a mud cake, which just looked like a small chocolate cake that I guess is pretty popular over there. And that both got smaller and increased in price. There was another clip of one of those giant heart-shaped Valentine's Day chocolate boxes that you normally get for, like your girlfriend or wife or whatever during Valentine's Day. And the spaces between each one of the chocolates were honestly ridiculous, especially for the big box. We have another comment here. Shrinkflation has always been annoying, but I sort of accepted it. But when you give me 15% less of a product and also charge me 20% more, should be illegal. And now one of the biggest counter arguments that I saw in one of my older videos is to start buying stuff from local people like farmers, farmers markets. Now maybe not everybody has a local farmers market near them, so they couldn't get it even if they wanted to. I don't know how popular it is all across the world. I could only really speak for the US, but there's one somewhat near me that I've gone to a few times before with my girlfriend. Of course, you get a whole bunch of produce and fruits, and I end up getting some jellies and jams and maybe some granola, almonds, things like that, right? So right here is one of the empty mason jars for the jelly that I purchased recently. I'm not going to show you where it's from, but this is 16 ounces and this cost me $7.95, so basically $8. So here we are on the Walmart website for the Great Value Concord Grape Jelly, 18 ounces, so slightly bigger than what I have, and it is $2.02. Now this is great value, it is cheaper because it is the Walmart brand, so we could go over to Welch's, I don't know how to say it. Concord grape jelly, 30-ounce jar. This one is significantly bigger. This one is $3.12. So we're talking almost 4 times as much for this one, and this specific one was just Concord grape jelly, the exact same thing, but I went all across the farmer's market. You know, there's a whole bunch of different people that'll make jams and jellies. I saw prices anywhere from $8 up to $18 for this exact size. Of course, it's different, you know, blackberry, raspberry, all the different types of berries, but $8 to $18 for one of these, or $2 to $3 at Walmart. You can't really avoid the fact that people are tight on money right now. They can't spend $10, $12, $15 on a mason jar full of jelly when they could barely afford rent. And I get it, food from local areas are healthier and they taste good. This tastes just as good as anything at the store, honestly even better, but that's not an option for a lot of people right now, and trying to stretch your dollar out right now is more important than getting something from a local area. Now we have another comment from one of you guys. Not only have I definitely noticed shrinkflation, I've also noticed a drop in quality of the product. And to add on to that comment, I don't think shrinkflation is just for food or makeup products and things along the lines of that. I think it even adds on to the drop, like the absolute nosedive in quality for a lot of clothing brands these days.
I hate when companies ruin a good thing. This Lululemon Nulu Crop Define jacket was in my favorite things of 2023. I absolutely love this jacket. It's breathable, it's form-fitting, it's just perfection. So I went to go buy it in a different color and they made it so much worse. First, the zippers. The zippers here are really thin and inconspicuous, like they really hide in the jacket. Now, the zippers here, I'm sorry, they're fugly. Like, they are these giant alligator zippers. No. Another great thing about the old Nulu jacket is that they have a vent. They have a vent in the back and their pockets are vented. So, good ventilation. This version, yeah, they removed it. They removed the vents, and that is obviously a downgrade. Like, it's obviously a downgrade. And after wearing both of these and just feeling the materials, this one is obviously a lot thicker. This one's definitely not as buttery, definitely thicker, and that's not good for working out, running. It's definitely not as breathable. I'm so upset at myself for not buying this color. When I bought this color, like, this is what I get for being responsible. I'm leaning on returning this because I'm just so upset.
And I mean, if you know Lululemon, this is not some cheap brand trying to cut corners because the price of inflation has really hurt their super thin margins. These clothes are very expensive. Now, most of the Lululemon stuff are women's products, so you could see leggings, $98 for a racer bra, almost $60. Their shoes, $160. $140, $120 here, $170 for this jacket. Like, this is very expensive stuff. $128, $128, $148. This is not a company like Shein or Temu that have very cheap products. So of course their materials are going to be terrible. This is very expensive stuff.
Hey, let's talk about shrinkflation in fashion. I spent 3 weeks in Europe in clothing factories. This is what I saw on the production floor. This is what's coming up in the next year. And this isn't a fashion projection or prediction. This is actually something I saw with my own eyes. So the types of clothes are changing, and they're generally not changing for fashion reasons. And they're changing because of economic, commercial reasons. So for overshirts and jackets, it is a creeping increase in polyester content. Jackets that were once 100% wool are now 70% wool. Jackets that were 70% wool are now 30% wool. And there are 2 main reasons why it's happening. First is wool's becoming incredibly expensive. You've got to think about a global supply chain. Wool is grown in Australia, New Zealand, is then shipped over to China to be spun into yarn. That yarn is then sent across the world into Europe, where that yarn is turned into fabric, and then to a different European country where that fabric is made into clothes. Because of events in the world, because of the rising cost of petrol, transportation is increasing the price of everything. The other key factor to consider is that e-commerce is becoming a primary channel to sell clothes. And clothes don't necessarily have to be prioritized according to hand feel, according to drape, and how it fits on you. It's how it looks on photos. And polyester can make clothes look really good because polyester adds stiffness, it adds sculptural shape. So when you take a photo and you put up a JPEG on a website, it looks really good. Unfortunately, you don't find out the hand feel until you get it and you've already paid for the item. And I'm a big fan of polyester when it has a functional use, like it adds durability to clothes. But I'm not really a fan when it's just used as filler. And if you're a traditionalist, you could go like, well, I'm not shopping unless I can actually try it on, unless I can actually feel it in my hands. But what happens when the most exciting young, small designers cannot afford to have shops, cannot afford a shop in a major city to sign a 3-5 year lease? I appreciate that these are big problems, and I'm not going to put it on your lap to solve them. And it's really a responsibility of the small business, exciting fashion designer to think of new ways to explain product, to think about new ways to show how things drape and how things are sized. But time will tell.
And I'm definitely not a stranger to polyester. Almost all of the shirts that you see me wear, including this one, have some sort of mixed polyester. And if you want to, you go down the whole rabbit hole of the polyester and the microplastics and the testosterone issues with men. But for me personally, I'm a very warm person, all right? So I need a lightweight shirt or I'm just going to walk around sweating all the time. But polyester is very cheap to make, especially in comparison to any of the wools like he said in the video. So that's why I never get any of these types of golf shirts anywhere other than Goodwill for $4, because especially now, that polyester spandex mixed with a lot of these types of shirts end up getting very, very expensive. I have Peter Millar RLX. I just looked it up. I didn't even realize this is Taylor Vintage. I just found this at Goodwill a couple days ago, and on their site, these polos are $88. These companies want you to buy these shirts for $80, $90, $100 when these shirts are made of plastic, and it's honestly only going to get worse. Because a couple days ago, I saw an article, I don't know how true it was, but apparently the inflation has dropped down to 1.8% again. I just saw it in passing really quick, maybe it's not true, but we're sitting at around that 2% right now, and the government says that, you know, we're all supposed to be fine now, but the results of the very high inflation during COVID has brought all of these prices just completely out of control, and there's no way of going back to it. Let's even say the inflation is 1.8% right now. Well, that's still going to increase the prices of these items by 1.8%. They're never going to go back down. This is just the new normal now. And like I just said, it's not just the food, it's the random little products like the makeup we saw, even clothing. It seems like everybody's cutting corners now, whether it's actually needed because they don't have great margins, or they could have the excuse of all the inflation and the prices of things to actually make more revenue. So I really have no idea how you could actually fix this in the future at all. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. YouTube thinks you'll like this video popping up on screen right now, but hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like, and I'll talk to you guys later.